Hi everyone, welcome to part 2 of this planner page from Johanna Basford's 2022 Weekly Planner, and this is a picture from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. Now, I did some of this page in yesterday's video. If you missed it, you can go back and have a look. You can do it after this video or go and look now and then pop back. It's not really going to make any difference, I don't think, which order you do it in. But I showed you all the branches and some of the leaves and flowers and sent you away with a mission to complete the leaves and flowers, which I have done. If you haven't, as I say, it doesn't really matter. You can do that later. I did notice that here, I shall come in closer so you can see. Sorry for my mess of pencils. We're getting pretty close so I can show you. In here there's a tiny bit there which I think is probably branch, which I missed out, so I'm going to do that now. It won't take long. So using the dark brown, which we used to start with, which was number 30, to do the edge. This will be quite a little dark bit of branch because it's got all these flowers around it, so I'm going to put a little bit more brown, dark brown in there. And if you remember yesterday, we then went in with a lighter brown, number 27, so I will just do that. And then we use the dark green, number 24, to sort of blend it all up together. And then went back in with the black, the dark brown, I'm sorry, number 30, to just finish off. So I'm just going to mess around with that until I'm happy. I'm going to add a bit more green. It looks a little bit brown. There we go. Okay, so that's that little bit done. It was sort of bothering me, but I thought I would do it with you guys rather than on my own. Okay, and also pointed out because you may have not, you may have missed it too. Right, so we have these three areas to do, which I'm going to do now. Just try and get them in shot. The whole of it. There we go. So each of these is obviously a little lantern, and we have petals on the top of each one, and I'm going to use the pink that I did for these petals. I think it just works. So this is number 12, and I'm just going to do them in a very similar way. So starting darker nearer to the bottom of the plant, I set upside down so it will fade downwards like that. And we'll do the same with all of them. So I'm hoping I'm not smudging my my pen, because I've only just finished doing the pen work on the centres of the flowers. Now with the Poscas, I find they don't take too long to dry really. You seem to be able to sort of, I'm just going to sharpen to get into those little bits. They don't seem to smudge very easily if you just leave them for a few minutes. It is always wise to be careful. I've just broken my pencil, which wasn't very clever. I should just try and get that lead, out of the sharpener. There we go. Have another try. With the Poscas, as I say, they dry quite quickly, but I'm always quite cautious. I don't shut my book until I'm really confident that they're dry, so I usually leave them overnight. I have said this quite a bit recently, but just a reminder for anyone who maybe hasn't seen any of my recent videos. So I'm getting in there with a little bit of a darker, make it a bit darker just by over colouring. Just doing layers. And here we have this large one at the front. Now these have candles in, and I've been thinking carefully about what to do with the colour of the candles and these sort of round bits and the bottles as well. I don't really want to extend the colour palette too much. I rather like it being quite limited. So I'm going to go over the top of these circles because they are ink dots. And I have a plan for those, and it doesn't matter about having the pencil. If you're going to do your ink dots in black pencil, then leave them blank. It'll be a bit, it's not vital, but it'll be easier to get your black to really stand out if you haven't got a bit of pink underneath. But if you layer it up, it will anyway. But I'm going to do them in pen. Most people will have a black pen, even if it's a biro. it might be worth thinking about doing them in that. It makes them stand out a little bit more. And on this particular page, maybe that doesn't matter, but in the book where they're quite relevant to the story, then making them stand out could be good. But you may just not want some big black splats in your picture. Now in our bottles we've got fluid, you can see some liquid, and I've been trying to think about what that might be. I'm trying to think about the book and the story. I don't really know, so I'm trying to sort of think, what colour should I do it? Do you know what I mean? What will work with this page? What might it be? When I did this page originally, I did it blue and just sort of wanted it to look like water. But obviously water isn't blue, but you know, that was my plan. But I don't know if I want to do that this time. But let's deal with our lights now. Now candles. Now I felt that I wanted the candles to be pink. I wanted them to look quite like the flowers. So what I'm actually going to do is keep with my pink and do them pink. But I'm just going to put down an even, fairly hard layer on each candle, and then we're going to add a slightly darker colour to it so that they stand out a little bit, so they don't sort of, we want to see them, we don't want them to stand out as something completely different, but we want to see them. Now also our flames I've been thinking about. I'm going to use, this colour, I think. Yes, this is number 9. It's a sort of pinky red, and I think it will work well. I'm going to start with this one, and I'm just going to apply it a little bit to the bottom and the edges, and then just gently darken the whole thing a little bit. And you can see it looks a bit darker, but it's not going to stand out. It's not like it's blue or something, you know. And we'll do the same with the others. So a little bit darker on the edges than towards the middle. Yes, the flames as well. I don't want to introduce orange. Now obviously fire is usually orange or yellow. I don't really want an orange. I don't know if it, I don't feel like it will go with the page, so I'm going to do the flames in just yellows so that I think it will go better with the page. Okay, I'm happy with those. So let's move the pencils aside. So let's do the flame. Now we've got 2 yellows in the set, so I'm going to use both. And we've got a slightly darker and a slightly lighter. I'm going to use the darker one for the flame and the lighter one for the surround. So I'm going to keep it really simple. So number 4 is our darker one, and that's the one we used for the flower centres. So it sort of ties up together as well, which I always think is nice. So I'm just going over and over. I want it to show up, but not jump out. I don't know if that makes sense. I think I know what I mean. Okay, and then the slightly lighter one, and I'm not going to do such a hard layer, number 3. I want it slightly yellow, but I don't need it to be really dark, because it's light, it's bright, so even if you can't really see the yellow, I don't think it matters that much. But these pencils are pretty vibrant, which is rather nice. So even a light layer, I think you can probably see that, even though we're quite zoomed out. I'm not putting a heavier layer anywhere. I'm trying to keep it as even as I can. I'm not going to panic and worry if it's not completely even, but I'm just going to try and get an evenish layer. I find yellow quite difficult to get even because I can't always see where I've done any because of the white paper. So I'm just staying laid back and chilled about it, just popping it down. Now the outside of these and the little round bits at the bottom, I've had a think, and I think we'll use the browns that we used for the branches for these. So I'm going to use this lighter brown for the bit around the edge, just because we've got all this candlelight, and then the dark brown for those little circular bits. I don't know if they're supposed to be roots. This is number 27, and what I want to do is make it a little bit darker here and then a bit lighter towards the bottom, but dark down here. So we're sort of having 2 areas where it's darker and a bit lighter up into the middle, like that. Yeah, I think that's okay. If you would rather use a different colour, go ahead. You might rather use the pink or maybe even a green as if it was a leaf. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, so that's just how I have decided to do it. Obviously this light brown isn't very visible in our branch anymore. It's been covered in green, so you could cover this in green too, to make it sort of tone in more with the branches. I think I'm going to leave it in this warmer colour just because of the candlelight. Now, I've always wondered whether this page is supposed to be nighttime because we've got candles, but I'm not going to colour it as nighttime. I think it would look, I think it's nicer in daytime sort of look to it. And I'm pretty sure that in this part of the book, number 30 for these circles, they're really small. What I would ideally like to do is to make them a little darker on the outside and lighter in the middle, but I don't think I will be able to achieve that because they're so little. So I'm going to try, but I'm probably just going to end up with a fairly even amount of brown pencil over the top of each one. But no, I'm pretty sure at this point in the story it's daytime, but I can't remember. I could be very wrong. I haven't read the book for ages. So, but I'm sure they were following the trail of the ink drops, and they would have done that in the daylight, I would have thought. I think it was only nighttime when they were at the they had the meal with the, was it with the elves, and the sort of feast, and they fell asleep. I don't think it was too many days, the story. Anyway, there we go. Now we're going to move on to the bottles. I will come in a bit closer to those because we can get both things shot. There we go. Let's pop them into the middle. It gets sometimes my camera blurs the things on the outside. Now I'm going to do the cork first on each bottle. This one we have the cork sticking out. I'm going to use this light grey, like we were using just now, the 27, to just colour it in gently, and then put a bit more colour at the bottom and along where those lines are drawn. Now we would probably see a little bit through here as well, so I'm just going to put a bit of brown there. Now this one looks more like a screw top type lid, or has it even got a lid? I guess it would. So I think I'm just going to use the darker brown for this lid, so the number 30, and this one I shall do darker here and lighter as we go up, like that, to try and make it look a little bit shiny, and we'll do a bit on the bottom as well. I don't know whether that bottom bit's supposed to be the bottom of the lid or a bit of the glass, but anyway, it's done now. Now on this one we have these lines coming around. It reminds me of some sort of wine bottle. I'm not a drinker, so I don't really know. I'm going to use the 30 again to fill those in quite gently, but a little bit darker at each end and less in the middle, and hopefully that will help to emphasize the rounded shape of the bottle. And yeah, it reminds me, is it Spanish wines that come in those bottles with a bit of strawy stuff around? I don't know. So I'm not a drinker. I'm not fond of drink, so I don't drink it. I don't like it. Now what I've decided for the liquid, let's let you know. I thought I would do it pink. I know everything's pink, but I'm going to use this slightly darker colour that we used for the candles, but I'm going to use it really lightly so it looks a different shade of pink to the blossoms, but I don't want it very dark, so I'm just doing it really lightly and gently. It's quite red actually, isn't it? Just gently, and I'm going to make both of them the same. And I don't know, maybe it's some sort of juice, it could be wine, I don't know. There we are. Okay, now I'm just thinking about shading a little bit. I think it would be a bit darker here, nearer to the bottom of the bottle, and sort of on that angle. And the same here, it'd be a bit darker here I reckon, and down the bottom here, maybe even a bit on the top. I think I'm going to leave that. I don't want it to get too dark. Now bottles, glass. Now glass I tend to do either in a very pale grey or a very pale blue, like a sky blue type shade. We don't have that sort of blue, so I'm going to grab a grey. We have two here. I'm just going to swatch them because I'm not sure. They both look quite brown and I really want a cold grey. Well, that one's okay, I think. Well, they're both okay. They're not brown. They're definitely grey. I'm going to use the lightest, which is number 33. Just going to give it a sharpen. Hasn't been used much and the end is quite square. I've managed to break it. Hang on. I'm just going to empty my sharpener. I'm just going to turn off for a minute. Hold on. Right, I am back. Sorry, the sharpener was too full and that's why everything kept breaking. I'm sure you're aware that if you don't empty it, it seems to break the pencils. Right, so I'm just adding a little bit of grey. I want every bit of the bottle to have some grey on though. I don't want any of it to be white, but I'm going to make it a little darker in some areas than others. It's a bit darker here on this side. Probably darker on each side actually, to try and get a bit of shine in the middle. The same on here, darker top and bottom. Now here we need a bit on each end of here, because although our cork is showing through a little bit, we need to make it look a bit different to the bit that's on the outside. Not sure where I'm going to shade here. I'm just going to do a light grey layer and then think about it in a minute. So it would be more here underneath at the bottom of the bottle. I think a bit darker the glass. And if you could make your glass just see-through, not colour it. You could make it coloured glass. I quite liked the fact that we could see our liquid through it. But to make it more glassy, we need a white pen. We have our trusty Posca. We want to draw some shine. Now it seems a bit silly, we just coloured it grey and now we're colouring it white, but it will make it look bottly again and glassy. Now here, remember these stripes are on the outside, so we mustn't put any white on top of them. So if we want a bit of shine going along the bottom, we have to keep it off of those. And I just tend to add it here and there. Follow the edge, so put them parallel to the edge and just put a fair bit on. Just layering it up a little bit. It's not going to show up really, really brightly because we haven't coloured in really dark colours, but that's why I'm just putting a few layers on. Now some people would take out the black lines to make it look more bottly, but I'm not going to do that because I think they might just disappear into the page. So I'm going to leave it there. So let us go back out and we can have a look at the picture as a whole. I don't know if we can fit it all in yet, not quite. I'm trying to avoid you seeing my mess of pencils all over the desk. There we go. So there is the finished picture. So I had a lot of fun with that. Now you may want to go ahead and do a bit of a background. I have a plan. I'm going to try it out, and if it works there'll be a video. If it doesn't, there won't. So we'll wait and see. So anyway, I may be joining you tomorrow with a background. I hope so. I hope it works. Otherwise I might end up with a black pen background. This is the joy with your Poscas. If your background goes wrong, grab a Posca any colour and it will cover it over. So you can be daring and try things, and if it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a really lovely day and happy colouring.